Before we begin, I thought it would be fun if everyone lets me know in the comments where they're watching this video from. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's start today's episode. In recent weeks, the entertainment industry has been shaken by explosive revelations surrounding Sean Combs, a longtime powerhouse in the music world. Allegations against Diddy have ignited widespread controversy, and now, a hacker linked to the notorious Collective Anonymous claims that the scandal is far more extensive than previously believed. According to this individual, multiple high-profile celebrities will soon be implicated, potentially facing public disgrace and career-ending repercussions. This revelation has sent shockwaves through social media and entertainment circles, leaving many to speculate about who might be involved and how deeply the alleged misconduct runs. As a hip-hop mogul with a decade-spanning influence, Sean Combs has built a legacy of success and cultural significance. However, in recent years, whispers of misconduct have cast a shadow over his reputation. While such rumors have circulated for some time, they have gained renewed traction due to a recent lawsuit detailing claims of exploitation at Diddy's private events. Central to these allegations are his infamous white parties, exclusive, star-studded gatherings known for attracting top-tier musicians, celebrities, and influencers. Now, with a hacker from Anonymous bringing fresh claims to light, the controversy surrounding these allegations has escalated to an entirely new level. According to this individual, who claims to have hacked into private databases and communications, multiple well-known celebrities were not only aware of the alleged behavior at these parties, but were active participants. The hacker suggests that in the coming weeks, more details will be revealed that implicate a growing number of celebrities in the scandal, and that the public will be shocked by the names involved. The hacker's leak has already begun circulating on forums and social media platforms where they hinted that some of the most beloved figures in Hollywood and the music industry are tied to these allegations. This revelation has caused widespread speculation as fans and industry insiders alike try to piece together which high-profile individuals might be linked to the scandal. The hacker also claimed that the information they have collected is damning enough to ruin careers and tarnish legacies. People will be heartbroken, the hacker reportedly stated in one of their posts. Some of the celebrities that everyone loves and admires have been complicit in these events. In the next few weeks, their names will come out, and the truth will finally be known. In the wake of these revelations, the internet has been ablaze with speculation. Social media platforms like Twitter and Reddit have seen a surge in discussions about which celebrities could be implicated and what impact these allegations might have on the entertainment industry. For many fans, the possibility that beloved celebrities could be involved in such a scandal has been difficult to digest. Some have expressed disbelief, while others feel a sense of betrayal at the thought that those they've admired for years may have been complicit in or participated in such inappropriate behavior. Kanye West is facing allegations of doing similar things that Diddy has done, and this comes from his former assistant who said that it happened at a party organized by Sean Combs. This is the latest according to a shocking new lawsuit. Lauren Pichotta filed a lawsuit against West, citing allegations of harassment as per records acquired by insiders. She alleged that her former supervisor sent her messages suggesting a desire for relations that she was against while she served as his assistant in 2021. Pichotta claimed that West would engage in acts that made her feel very uncomfortable during phone talks with her. Pichotta has submitted a revised lawsuit, alleging that West admitted to the accusations. In the lawsuit, Pichotta asserted that she encountered West following his invitation to her musician client for a studio session. He also extended an invitation to the individual for a gathering held by his friend Combs. West allegedly informed all guests at the gathering that consuming a drink was mandatory to stay, and he reportedly offered Pichotta one as well. According to legal documents, Pichotta began feeling disoriented after having a few drinks. Additionally, reports suggest that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are considering moving to Europe due to Ashton's growing entanglement in controversies linked to Sean Combs. An insider claims that Kutcher is frustrated by the ongoing scrutiny of his past associations, first with Danny Masterson and now with Diddy, which has pushed him to explore life beyond Hollywood. The couple, who recently spent the summer in Europe and attended Taylor Swift's Eras tour, are said to be drawn to the idea of a simpler, more grounded lifestyle abroad. Ashton reportedly believes that there are far better places to live than Hollywood, which he views as increasingly toxic. However, their professional and personal commitments in the U.S. could complicate an international move. If relocating to Europe proves impractical, Kutcher is also considering Northern California as an alternative, hoping it would provide a more stable environment for their children. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries and enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to stay updated on all our latest content. Moving on to the next mystery. Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest freestanding mountain in the world and Africa's highest peak, has long captivated explorers, geologists, and historians. Its rich biodiversity, distinct geological characteristics, and historical significance have made it a key focus of scientific study and exploration. Recently, a team of archaeologists and historians made an extraordinary discovery within Kilimanjaro's slopes, revealing a biblical connection that offers fresh insights into the region's past and its ties to ancient civilizations. In February, a group of experts in biblical archaeology and history set out on an expedition to examine the mountain's geological formations and potential historical landmarks. A detailed analysis of 6 ice cores extracted from Kilimanjaro's rapidly shrinking glaciers suggests that these tropical ice fields began forming approximately 11,700 years ago. The region has experienced 3 major droughts over thousands of years. Geology professor Lonnie Thompson from Ohio State University, who led the February expedition to collect the ice cores, described Kilimanjaro's glaciers as stagnant and in a state of decline. While the biblical account of Joseph is widely documented in the Christian Bible, Torah, and Quran, it has often been regarded as a dramatized narrative loosely based on historical events, serving more as a moral lesson than a factual record. Moving on to the next mystery. The story begins with Joseph, the 11th of 12 sons, who was deeply cherished by his father, Jacob, much to the frustration of his brothers. As a symbol of this favoritism, Jacob gifted Joseph an extravagant, multicolored coat, further fueling his siblings' jealousy. According to the Bible, the coat was dyed in red and purple, the most prestigious and costly colors of the ancient world due to their rarity and difficulty in production. Resentful of their father's clear preference and unsettled by Joseph's strange prophetic dreams, his brothers conspired against him. They sold him to an Egyptian merchant and returned his coat to Jacob, stained with goat's blood, falsely claiming that Joseph had perished. In Egypt, Joseph was imprisoned, but his ability to interpret dreams caught the attention of the pharaoh, who was troubled by ominous visions. Joseph explained that the dreams foretold 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine, and he was entrusted with preparing Egypt for the hardship ahead. Joseph quickly ascended through the ranks of the Egyptian court, becoming one of the most powerful officials as he managed grain storage and ensured the nation's survival during the impending famine. However, no Egyptian records from this era mention a high-ranking official named Joseph. Given the improbability of a foreign prisoner rising to such prominence, scholars have long debated whether Joseph's story is a historical account or a highly embellished moral parable. Moving on to the next mystery. Since the first explorers set foot on this desolate landscape, Antarctica has yielded a series of fascinating and peculiar discoveries. While most have contributed to a better understanding of the region's unique environment, some groups believe the icy continent harbors advanced secrets. Despite being dismissed by scientists and researchers, many claim that Antarctica is home to a number of unexplained anomalies. One of the latest to capture public attention appears to show a large circular formation atop a mountain, as if something had been revealed by melting snow. This discovery, made using Google Earth, has led some to speculate that it could depict a mysterious craft. For years, the enigmatic nature of Antarctica has fueled speculation, with many amateur researchers using Google Earth in an attempt to locate alleged advanced aircraft. While scientists have attributed these sightings to shifting ice and natural formations, skeptics argue otherwise. Some claim that scattered across the icy continent are massive structures resembling pyramids. Given the presence of pyramid-like formations worldwide, including submerged and jungle-covered ones, believers suggest these Antarctic structures may be part of a broader pattern. The idea that these buildings and unidentified flying objects might be connected has been proposed for quite some time. Reports of unusual aerial phenomena in Antarctica are not new, continuing to fuel intrigue about what may lie beneath its frozen surface. In fact, users have said that satellite surveillance is revealing more of these corals as the ice begins to melt. They say that some of the most common places to see these sources is close to things like mountains, suggesting that the reason behind this is because they may have crashed, while others have said that these are actually archaeological discoveries and that the melting ice is finally revealing them, noting that they could have been buried for thousands of years. Enthusiasts have also claimed that there is evidence of trapped, unidentified flying objects deep within the glacial formations of the icy continent, trapped there and waiting to be uncovered by research teams stationed on the southern continent, noting that we have proof of large tank-like structures next to these downed aircrafts, and that this is proof that these are discoveries and that the government have gone in to retrieve them. This has led a wide variety of theorists to believe that perhaps the governments of the world have been discovering these things for years now, and that secret research bases have been established in the continent in order to study them and potentially find more that may be hidden underneath the ice. One thing that is for sure is that there's a number of research bases across Antarctica and that there's reports of them carrying out strange activity on the surface as well in subglacial lakes. There has been a number of reported findings on websites where theorists of all kinds have claimed to have spotted secret and undisclosed research bases across the icy continent. That could be a secret location for international research efforts hidden from the public. This has spawned a number of legends and theories that claim that these research bases could be used for anything from a secret military base to that of bases that research the unknowns of our world. Though there is little evidence for this claim, the continent continues to be the prime location for such hidden research efforts that works to be isolated from any habitable conditions and praying eyes. Another strange theory surrounding the nature of the icy continent has been emerging in recent months. This left many wondering if Antarctica is truly as isolated as once believed. Reports of sudden changes in the weather, strange noises emerging from the ground, rivers of red water, and ice that appears to be almost aware of the people walking on it moving and growing has left many wondering if the glaciers that we've come to catalog as nothing more than ice are actually alive and that we don't fully understand them. Several strange phenomena surrounding the ice has come forward in recent years that help to support this theory. One such phenomenon is that of the singing ice. Researchers studying Antarctica's massive glaciers have discovered an unusual, low-frequency vibration that resonates throughout the ice, imperceptible to human ears but detectable through seismic sensors. Additionally, some have reported that striking, drilling, or otherwise disturbing the ice can trigger unexpected environmental shifts, such as sudden instability in the glaciers and unpredicted changes in weather patterns. This has led some to theorize that the ice itself may be reacting to these disruptions, almost as if it were defending against intrusion. However, these ideas remain purely speculative. Scientists working in the region insist there is nothing out of the ordinary occurring in Antarctica and that the mysterious objects spotted across the continent can be explained by natural phenomena. One researcher pointed out that many of these so-called crashed objects are actually the result of shifting ice. He explained that when large chunks break off near mountains, they sometimes slide across the frozen surface, creating the illusion of a crash site. Despite these explanations, some remain skeptical, arguing that there has been no official clarification regarding the presence of tanks near these supposed anomalies. To them, the presence of military equipment only deepens the mystery surrounding Antarctica. Moving on to the next mystery. In December, King Henry III announced that he had come into possession of an exceptionally sacred relic, a vial said to contain the blood of Jesus. He summoned his nobles to Westminster Abbey in London, stating that he had something of great importance to share. However, leading up to the event, he spoke only in vague terms, referring to it as a holy benefit, without revealing specific details. As the nobles gathered with anticipation, King Henry finally unveiled the purpose of the meeting. He declared that he was in possession of what he believed to be drops of Christ's blood, securely sealed within a vial. To bolster the authenticity of this claim, he presented seals of verification from bishops, the Knights Templar, and the Patriarch of Jerusalem. figures of great authority at the time. In a solemn procession, the king personally carried the relic to the abbey, entrusting it to the monks for safekeeping. The bishop proclaimed that anyone who venerated the relic would receive 6 years and an additional 160 days of indulgences. For devout Christians, this was indeed a profound and sacred gift. Surprisingly, the unveiling of the relic did not generate as much attention as one might have anticipated. This was likely due to widespread skepticism regarding its authenticity. Meanwhile, another relic, reportedly discovered in a separate abbey in Gloucestershire, sparked far greater enthusiasm. As it turns out, those who questioned the legitimacy of King Henry III's relic had good reason to do so. In fact, King Henry VIII later had the vial examined, and experts determined that it did not contain Jesus' blood. Instead, it was found to be a mixture of honey, saffron, and possibly goose blood. Some historians speculate that King Henry III may have used the relic as a strategic political tool to solidify his support among the people. Even today, similar relics continue to exist, with one of the most well-known examples being housed in the Basilica of the Holy Blood in Belgium. Moving on to the next mystery. The idea that unidentified objects show an interest in our nuclear capabilities is both fascinating and, if true, deeply significant. If an advanced civilization were observing us, nuclear energy could serve as a clear technological milestone, one that signals our transition toward greater energy mastery. The Kardashev scale provides a useful framework here. While we haven't yet reached Type 1 status, our rapid advancements, particularly in nuclear technology, might be enough to attract attention. From a strategic perspective, any civilization monitoring us would likely see nuclear weapons as a double-edged sword, both a marker of progress and a potential existential threat. Given our history of warfare and environmental destruction, it's not far-fetched to consider that an advanced species, potentially one that has navigated its own nuclear challenges, would keep an eye on our trajectory. If these unidentified objects are more than just misidentified natural or human-made phenomena, their presence near nuclear sites could imply a form of oversight, intervention, or even simple observation. Of course, healthy skepticism is warranted. Many UFO sightings, even around nuclear facilities, can be attributed to conventional explanations: experimental aircraft, surveillance drones, or misinterpretations of natural phenomena. But if there's even a fraction of truth to these reports, it raises a compelling question. Are we alone in navigating the leap to higher energy capabilities, or is someone making sure we don't destroy ourselves before we get there? The detonation of nuclear weapons not only impacts the immediate vicinity, but has ripple effects that reach out into space. These explosions send out electromagnetic pulses and can potentially affect the ionosphere and Earth's magnetic field. Advanced civilizations might be interested in these nuclear-induced disturbances as they could have unforeseen impacts on interstellar travel, communication, or other cosmic processes that we are not yet aware of. Advanced civilizations may be interested in our nuclear advancements for purely scientific reasons. They might want to study how a relatively younger species approaches nuclear power, the innovations we've made, and the mistakes we commit. Humanity's entry into the atomic age could be seen as part of a broader pattern in the development of civilizations, potentially mirroring the technological and societal transitions experienced elsewhere in the cosmos. Earth's rich biodiversity and unique resources might be rarer than we assume, making the planet valuable not just to us, but possibly to an external civilization. The devastating consequences of nuclear warfare, ranging from fallout to long-term environmental collapse, could threaten these resources, making it plausible that an advanced species might have an interest in monitoring or even preventing such destruction. That said, any connection between unidentified objects and nuclear sites remains speculative. While declassified military reports and testimony from credible sources suggest a pattern of interest, definitive proof continues to elude us. Regardless of whether such surveillance is truly happening, the mere possibility challenges us to reconsider our role as caretakers of Earth, recognizing that our planet's significance may extend far beyond humanity itself. Moving on to the next mystery. Denisovan DNA is shedding new light on the mysteries of human evolution. While Neanderthals are frequently discussed, The existence of the Denisovans was only confirmed in February 2008, making them a relatively recent addition to our understanding of ancient human relatives. Their discovery has significantly altered our perception of human history, leading to a wave of new archaeological research. Initially, after their identification, experts estimated that Denisovans lived around 50,000 years ago. However, by 2015, further analysis revealed that this timeline was too restrictive. New findings suggested that Denisovans may have roamed the Earth for tens of thousands of years longer than previously believed. This major adjustment stemmed from a reassessment of fossil evidence, which hinted at a much older presence of this elusive species. DNA extracted from a tooth fossil discovered in a cave in southwestern Siberia has provided groundbreaking insights into the Denisovan species. Through genetic analysis of this fossil, along with the limited data available on these ancient hominins, researchers have determined that Denisovans walked the Earth as far back as 110,000 years ago. Svante Pääbo, director and co-author of the study from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, shared in an interview with CS Monitor that researchers had obtained their first look at genetic variation within Denisovans. Their genetic diversity was found to be comparable to that of Neanderthals. The study analyzed two Denisovan fossils, which were determined to belong to different individuals who lived at vastly different points in time. Scientists reached this conclusion by identifying missing mutations in the DNA, providing further clues about the species' genetic lineage. Although some speculate about potential links between Denisovans and Neanderthals, the two were distinct species despite their similarities. Their resemblance is so striking that it was only through meticulous examination of fossils that researchers were able to differentiate them. This need for such a close analysis explains why Denisovans remained undetected for so long. Moving on to the next mystery. Gabriel Amorth, a Catholic priest and the Vatican's chief exorcist, was a prominent figure in the world of exorcism. Born in Modena, Italy, in 1925, he was ordained as a priest in 1954. His involvement in exorcism began in the 1980s, and by 1986, he was appointed the Vatican's chief exorcist, a role he held until his passing in 2016. Amorth was widely known for his bold statements on possession and exorcism, strongly advocating for the Catholic Church's stance on the existence of the devil and the necessity of exorcisms. Over the course of his career, he claimed to have performed tens of thousands of exorcisms. One of his most chilling assertions was his belief that the devil had infiltrated the Vatican itself. In an interview with the Italian newspaper La Repubblica, Father Gabriele Amorth, a leading exorcist in the Catholic Church, defends his work, as well as that of the Association of Exorcists. According to Amorth, although the devil is not omnipresent, his presence can cause immense pain and suffering. The ritual of exorcism is a complex and challenging process that requires the full will of a man and detailed that this can have physical and psychological effects on the human body, many of which you never recover from. As per his claim, he has successfully treated more than 70,000 cases of demonic possession. The evil spirit is believed to be pure spirit and, thus, is considered invincible. When a person is possessed by the devil, they are often heard blurting out painful blasphemies. It is also said that the devil can remain hidden for long periods of time and can speak in different languages. These attributes of the devil are widely acknowledged, but those involved in this phenomena have said that you need to be incredibly well-versed in order to be able to take on this entity. According to Father Amorth, he has the ability to transform himself, but at the time admitted that he was not scared of this gift. During his time as an exorcist, he carried around artifacts in a small pouch and believed that God had chosen him for this work. However, when he was asked if the devil could strike inside Vatican City, Father Amorth became serious and started to show slight discomfort. Despite his fearlessness, at the time he understood the gravity of the question and the potential consequences of such an encounter with this entity. This highlights the importance of spiritual protection in even the most holy of places. The individual in question has a history of attempts to cause harm to religious figures, particularly those of the Catholic faith. Back in 1981, Father Amorth detailed that the devil attacked John Paul II. Father Amorth stated that despite the presence of this dark entity within the Vatican, he never felt afraid. as he always believed God was protecting him. He attributed his long tenure as the chief exorcist to this unwavering faith, claiming that many individuals were healed under his guidance and, once freed from possession, never experienced further issues. Demonic possession remains a highly debated subject, with perspectives differing based on religious, cultural, and scientific viewpoints. From a spiritual standpoint, many believe possession is a genuine and serious matter that requires the intervention of a trained exorcist or religious figure. In cultures with strong supernatural beliefs, it is often treated as an urgent and legitimate concern. Conversely, scientific perspectives generally dismiss the notion of possession, citing a lack of empirical evidence. Many symptoms associated with possession can often be explained by psychological or neurological conditions. Regardless of one's stance, approaching suspected cases with empathy, understanding, and an open mind is crucial. Moving on to the next mystery. In February 2008, a team of scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration set out on a routine research expedition aboard their advanced research vessel. Their objective was to study marine life and ocean currents across the vast Atlantic Ocean. However, one crew member later recounted that this particular voyage would lead them to an encounter that challenged their perception of reality. As the vessel navigated the calm waters, the scientists remained engrossed in their research, diligently collecting data and studying marine organisms. Dr. Walker, the lead marine biologist, had always been captivated by the ocean's many mysteries. As night descended, the team continued their work beneath the glow of the moon, unaware that they were about to witness something extraordinary. Suddenly, an unusual blip appeared on the ship's radar, catching the attention of Dr. Walker and the crew. They were puzzled by the mysterious signal, as there were no other vessels reported in the vicinity. With a sense of anticipation, the crew followed the radar signal, leading them to an area where the ocean currents seemed to converge. As they approached, an eerie silence enveloped the ship, broken only by the gentle lapping of the waves against the hull. Then, out of the darkness, a breathtaking sight unfolded before them. A massive, triangle-shaped object hovered above the water, emitting a soft, ethereal glow. The mysterious craft seemed to defy the laws of physics, maintaining a steady position in the air without any visible means of propulsion. Amidst the astonishment, Dr. Walker quickly grabbed her camera and began capturing images of the otherworldly spectacle. The crew members, equally mesmerized, exchanged bewildered glances as they tried to make sense of the inexplicable sighting. Captain Reynolds radioed to other National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration vessels that were in the area, reporting their sighting with an air of incredulity. The crew found themselves in an unprecedented situation, fully aware that their account would likely be met with skepticism once they returned home. Throughout the night, the mysterious triangular object remained suspended above the ocean, seemingly indifferent to their presence. Dr. Walker and her team carefully studied its unusual light patterns, noting how it intermittently emitted bright flashes before fading into a dim glow. Then, without warning, the object began to move, gliding silently across the sky. The team watched in astonishment as it effortlessly soared above the water, leaving behind a faint, shimmering trail. In an instant, the object vanished into the night, never to be seen again during the remainder of their mission. Strangely, the crew's cameras were confiscated, and they were explicitly instructed not to discuss what they had witnessed. Moving on to the next mystery. This discovery carries profound implications for biblical archaeology, offering concrete evidence of the vast reach of ancient Israelite civilization and its interactions with other cultures. It highlights the necessity of ongoing research and exploration to deepen our understanding of Israelite history and its connections to other ancient societies. The revelation of a biblical secret on Mount Kilimanjaro marks a significant breakthrough in archaeology, demonstrating the value of interdisciplinary study and exploration. Uncovering such findings on the slopes of Africa's tallest peak challenges existing historical narratives and sheds new light on the ties between ancient civilizations. As researchers continue to investigate the past, discoveries like this have the potential to reshape our understanding of history. Moving on to the next mystery. Susan Osborne, A 43-year-old woman described as independent and a devoted mother, thought she had found happiness in 2017. Living in Holtville, Alabama, with her 14-year-old son, Evan Chartrand, her 2 dogs, and her husband of 3 years, Jerry Osborne, she seemed content with her life. However, everything changed when Susan and Evan disappeared. As investigators looked deeper into the family's lives, it became clear that things weren't as perfect as they appeared. Originally from Michigan, Susan had moved to Alabama in 2005 after marrying the father of her first child, Evan. Although they divorced soon after, Susan chose not to return to Michigan, despite being far from her extended family. Later, she met another man and had a daughter, but the relationship fell apart around 2009. 5 years later, Susan found new love in Jerry Osborne, an Air Force veteran and 911 dispatcher. She admired how great he was with her children and saw him as kind and generous. On January 25, 2014, Susan and Jerry married, and the family relocated to Holtville, where Jerry had bought a home on Waterview Lane near Highway 111. At first, Jerry appeared to be a careful and protective man. He installed an elaborate and advanced security system in the house, complete with several CCTV cameras. However, over time, friends and family began to notice that Jerry's protective instincts were starting to shift toward controlling behavior. By 2015, Susan began to distance herself from her loved ones. It would later be revealed that Susan had been pulling away because Jerry was monitoring her calls and texts. Susan's brother, Brian, recalled a visit in January 2015 when she and her family had planned to go ice fishing with him during a trip to see her sick father. Both Susan and her 14-year-old son, Evan, loved fishing. However, the family never showed up for the planned activity. Instead, Susan messaged Brian, telling him that she, Jerry, and the children were on their way back to Alabama. Her family never got to say goodbye. Loved ones also added that at the time of Susan and Evan's disappearance in 2017, they'd met Jerry less than a handful of times. In 2016, Susan grew concerned when she discovered a photo of her husband on Craigslist advertising himself as a male escort. She recognized him by his distinguishable tattoos. She believed that he was working as an escort behind her back and emailed a friend to admit to what she'd found. She stated that she was going to start preparing to leave Jerry, noting that she'd need to get a job so that her children would receive health insurance and secure somewhere to stay. Susan also asked her friends not to mention any of this by text, confessing that Jerry read all of her messages. The friend Susan contacted, Holly Morris, had reportedly been afraid for the safety of Susan and her children for some time and encouraged her to leave. Holly and Susan had met 9 years earlier when they lived in the same neighborhood and had remained best friends even after Susan moved to Holtville. Despite her concerns and plans, though, Susan never left Jerry. She emailed Holly sometime after her initial message and stated that she and Jerry had worked things out and that she still loved him and wanted to give things another go. Holly remained worried, but recognized there was only so much she could say to her friend to encourage her to go. For Mother's Day in May 2017, Susan's mother Linda traveled to Alabama to visit her and the children. Their time together was noted to have been completely normal. Similarly, on May 16th, Susan and Jerry helped Holly and her fiancé finish packing. The couple plans to move out to Florida as part of Holly's fiancé's job. 10 days later, on May 26th, Susan spent time with her daughter, who was not living with her at the time, though Susan had visitation rights. The next day, she spoke with Holly on the phone and noted that Evan was off school because he was sick. The two spoke again the following day and exchanged a few texts the day after that on 29th. Then all communication with Susan and Evan ceased. Holly, for her part, thought that Susan was simply busy. Life sometimes got in the way of their communication, but never for that long. Susan's mother became alarmed when she was repeatedly unable to reach her daughter or her grandson as the weeks passed. While at first, she brushed off their lack of communication as a phone bill that hadn't been paid, or maybe even a broken phone, the knot of worry in her stomach became more and more pronounced as time went by. Linda eventually decided to send her daughter an old-fashioned letter, but it came back as undelivered. 2 months had passed before Evan and Susan were officially reported missing on July 29, 2017. 2 days later, on July 31st, officers from the Elmore County Sheriff's Office visited the family's residence in Holtville to carry out a welfare check. Upon their arrival, they spotted Susan's car still in the driveway. Jerry was the one to answer the front door, explaining that he was in the middle of cleaning. A strong smell of incense and candles wafted out from inside the building, and there was a burned barrel alight in the back garden. When investigators questioned Jerry about the whereabouts of his wife and stepson, he told them that on Memorial Day, May 27th, he and Susan had argued, and she and Evan had left in a truck with a man he didn't know, never to return. He mentioned that he thought they were heading to Birmingham, but added that the driver had stayed in the vehicle the whole time, even though Jerry claimed he could describe him as being 6 feet tall with a beard and sunglasses. Jerry went on to say that he had visited his parents, and when he returned, Susan and Evan's belongings were gone, and the house had been vandalized with rude graffiti spray painted on the floors and walls. He claimed this was why he had to repaint some of the walls and replace parts of the flooring with new carpet. After the officers left, Jerry's sister-in-law, Holly, reached out to share what she knew. From Jerry's suspicious behavior to the incident with the escort advertisement and the couple's subsequent reconciliation, investigators gathered crucial information. With these details, they obtained a search warrant later that same day and returned to the house. This time, they brought luminol, which revealed that despite any attempts to clean, signs of a crime were still present. According to the Charlie Project, approximately 20 possible bloodstains were discovered inside the home, all of which were sent for DNA testing. Sheriff Bill Franklin later told True Crime Daily that the volume of blood found indicated significant violence had occurred inside the house. Most of the stains appeared in the bedrooms and bathrooms, and Jerry had admitted to burning several items in the garden, including Evan's bed. Furthermore, authorities noticed that a new security system had been installed, and there was no footage available from the day that Susan and Evan supposedly left or from the day they allegedly came back to collect their belongings and vandalize the home. Investigators later confirmed that electronics had been seized from the residence, adding that the search history on the computer taken was not what they'd have expected from an average person. Unfortunately for investigators, the DNA testing on the bloodstains was inconclusive due to the cleaning chemicals used. Still, authorities continued to search for clues. They found out that on June 1st, Jerry had dropped Susan's dogs off at a shelter and changed his security system. 3 days later, he started picking up renovation supplies. Then on July 1st, over a month after the disappearance, he filed for divorce. The divorce was granted on November 15th. It has been noted that there were some inconsistencies in Jerry's story, with small details including the color of the spray paint Susan used to deface the house and the type of vehicle she and her son left in. These details changed throughout his numerous interviews. Upon speaking with neighbors, law enforcement discovered that Jerry had begun burning things in the back garden on Memorial Day weekend. The remnants of Evan's bed smashed up and charred were discovered, with neighbors adding that there was a strong smell of plastic in the neighborhood as Jerry burned items. Wild scent dogs were brought in to help find any useful evidence, and the dogs led their handlers to the burned barrel. Nothing damning was discovered inside it. Since Susan's disappearance, there has been no activity on her phone, credit cards, or social media. Likewise, Evan's phone and social media have laid dormant since he went missing. He has also not been registered at other schools, and his prescriptions have not been refilled. Furthermore, he was due to undergo dental surgery shortly after he went missing and never made his appointment. Susan's friend, Holly, noted that despite Jerry's story, there was no other man in her life, and added that she had changed her mind about leaving her husband. So why would she just take off one day? Holly doesn't believe that Susan left of her own volition, telling the Wetumpka Herald in 2018 she would not just disappear. She wouldn't have left her 10-year-old daughter. She wouldn't go without talking to her and seeing her. She also has theorized that the email she had received from Susan, in which she claimed she had reconciled with her husband, may have been written and sent by Jerry. Susan's other loved ones have echoed similar sentiments, pointing out that the 43-year-old was a devoted pet parent and wouldn't simply abandon her 2 dogs either. Several areas around the family home were searched in the months following the disappearance, but no new clues have been found to help law enforcement bring the case to a close. No suspects have been named in the case, and Jerry Osborne remains the only person of interest, though he has maintained his innocence since 2017. Captain Troy Evans of the Elmore County Sheriff's Office told AL.com, "There were several pieces of evidence and several things that were odd and seemed to point in a certain direction. Obviously, nothing to the degree that we had probable cause." He also discussed law enforcement search efforts, stating, "We searched the immediate area around the house, the neighborhood, and the wooded areas there. Every theory and every option that has come available to us or that has come to our attention, we have tried to rule those out, and so far have alleviated all of those." Captain Evans also declined to call the case cold, noting, "To me that insinuates it's just sitting somewhere, and we're not doing anything on it. We are still monitoring news media sources. Anytime there's a body found around the area, we do try to reach out to the law enforcement agency and just make sure they're aware of what we've got. I mean, it's not something we're actively doing stuff on every day, but, as things come up, we're still trying to do as much as we can." Jerry has never been charged in connection with the case. He remained at the home on Waterview Lane until early 2020, having put the building up for sale on December 14, 2019. It sold 3 months later. As of 2021, he was living 30 minutes from Holtville with another woman and her children. The pair got engaged on January 25, 2020, the same day he had married Susan in 2014. 43-year-old Susan Lynn Osborne and her 14-year-old son, Evan Eric Chartrand, have been missing since May 29, 2017, from Holtville, Alabama. Susan is described as a white woman with brown hair, blue eyes, and pierced ears. She stands 5'3" and weighed around 120 pounds when last seen. Evan is a white male with brown hair and blue eyes. At the time of his disappearance, he was 5'7" and weighed approximately 160 pounds. Evan has known medical issues that require prescription medication and regular doctor visits, which makes his disappearance especially concerning. Foul play is suspected in both cases. Anyone with information about the disappearance of Susan Osborne or her son Evan Chartrand is urged to contact the Elmore County Sheriff's Department at 334-567-5546 or Crime Stoppers at 334-251-7867. Moving on to the next mystery. William Ankerly, born on October 19, 1910, in the United States, relocated to Norway with his mother when he was 5 years old in 1916. He grew up in Oslo, which was previously called Christiania. As a teenager, he developed a passion for agriculture, eventually starting his own wholesale business in fruits and vegetables. However, after suffering a stroke in 1969, he became depressed and his behavior underwent a noticeable change. He also began gradually winding down his business. On July 13, 1972, William and his wife, Rajanine, were visiting relatives at Opson Farm in Ski, planning to stay a few days to assist with the farm work. That evening, while the family was having dinner, William stood up, left the table, and walked away from the farm. When his wife asked where he was going, he didn't respond. This would be the last time anyone saw William alive. Later that night, when William still hadn't come back, his wife called their apartment in Oslo, hoping he had gone there. The phone rang for a while before someone finally picked up, but they didn't say anything, remaining silent until the wife asked if it was William on the line. William then answered affirmatively. His wife inquired when he would be coming back to Ski, to which William replied that he wasn't feeling well and couldn't drive because he had just taken some pills. The call ended, and his wife assumed he would return the following day. However, he never came back. 2 days later, with William still missing, his wife and brother decided to go to the Oslo apartment. However, William was nowhere to be seen. Strangely enough, his wife's clothing and paintings were carefully cut up and placed on the coffee table in the living room. William was reported missing. A search investigation was launched and missing person flyers were distributed throughout the police stations in Norway. William's car, a white Vauxhall Cresta with the license plate number DA1427, was also missing. His wife told investigators that along with the car, camping equipment including folding tables, folding chairs, and a few other items that were kept in the garage were also missing. In the next few days, William's information was published in newspapers and media, but to no avail. 1 month later, an investigator was reading the newspaper when a report caught his eye. It mentioned that someone had found abandoned camping equipment near a lake in Nesbyen. The investigator contacted the Nesbyen police station, who sent him a list of all the items that were found near the lake. The list of items found included a travel radio, a small outdoor table, a travel briefcase, camping chairs, a water jug, a yellow warning light, a coffee pot, a jar of strawberry jam with strawberry in 1971 handwritten on it, and a cover for a propane stove. The travel radio still had a sticker from the electronics store in Oslo where it had been bought. The police contacted the store, and they confirmed that the radio had been sold to William Ankerly. William's wife was called in to help identify the items, and she recognized most of them, including the jam jar, which she had personally labeled with the words Strawberry 1971. The police then interviewed the man who had found the abandoned camping gear and items near the lake. He explained that he and his wife had been traveling to Vassfaret around 10 or 11 a.m. when they noticed a man sitting by the lake in a camping chair. He had a camping table with a tablecloth and a thermos beside him. Later that evening, when they passed by the lake again on their way home, the man was gone, but his camping equipment was still there. Suspicious of the situation, they reported it to the police. In the following days, the police received another tip from a business associate of Williams, who claimed to have seen him along the road between Hale Dawn and Nesbian. He said he had been wearing a blue coat. Williams' family confirmed that William did have a blue coat that he kept in his car. He used to wear the coat if he needed to wash or polish his car. The police then searched the area but could not find any trace of William or his vehicle. The police, however, did not search the lake, stating that the car could not have ended up in the water as it was too shallow to hide a vehicle. With no leads, the search was soon stopped. In 1974, William was declared dead by a court, and the case grew cold. In 2019, Arsted Norge, a detective show in Norway, began investigating the case. In autumn of 2021, they decided to check Lake Tridjern, as that was the only place during the earlier investigation which had not been searched. A search of the lake was conducted using sonar and underwater drones. Soon an object was picked up by the sonar at around 10 meters under the water. The drone was then used to investigate, and on September 10, 2021, a car with the license plate number DA 14027 was located laying vertically with the front part down in the mud in the seabed. They notified police, and the car was pulled out and examined. As the car was buried in the seabed in the front, the paint was preserved and stayed as it was in 1972. The police found human remains inside the car. The remains were sent to Oslo University Hospital for autopsy and identification. A DNA test later confirmed that the remains belonged to William Ankerly. During the investigation of his car, police discovered several items inside. Remarkably, the objects were well preserved, despite the car being submerged underwater for nearly half a century. Among the items were a farewell letter, a signed resignation letter, and a few other documents. The items had been wrapped in plastic, which helped preserve them over the years. Sadly, William's wife and brother passed away without ever finding out what had happened to him. After contacting William's immediate family, they requested that his body be returned to Oslo for burial. Based on the items found, it is believed that William took his own life. After 49 years, the case was officially closed. Moving on to the next mystery.
Simon Montalvo. In a quiet suburban home in DeSoto, Texas, a family's nightmare unfolded behind closed doors, one that would take years to uncover. Simon Montalvo vanished without a trace, and it wasn't until a body was discovered outside his home, hidden beneath rocks, that the true horror began to unfold. What followed was a search for answers that stretched over 7 years and a pursuit that took authorities across borders. Maria Leonora Montalvo and Simon Montalvo lived in DeSoto, Texas, with their 2 young sons. The couple's relationship was reportedly troubled, with signs of domestic violence. In 2012, Maria was charged with misdemeanor assault after an incident in which she allegedly threw a metal pot holder at Simon's head. However, after completing a domestic violence intervention program, the case was dismissed. Despite this history, the couple continued to live together. By 2013, they were seemingly in a strained but familiar routine. Simon, 44 years old, was reported missing by his brother in late April 2013 after not being seen for over a week. On May 4, 2013, after weeks of growing concern, the brother returned to the family home in DeSoto and made a grim discovery. While in the process of installing a camera, he smelled a strong odor coming from the backyard. Upon investigating, he found a pile of rocks along the fence, and when moved, it revealed a black bag containing Simon's body. He immediately contacted the police. Authorities confirmed that Simon had been shot 6 times, with 2 of those shots to the back of his head. Upon investigating the house, they found bloodstains throughout the master bedroom and hallway, as well as 3 bullet holes in the bedroom wall. This suggested that Simon's demise had been violent, and the circumstances pointed to someone within the household. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they learned that the couple's 2 sons were nowhere to be found. The children were eventually located in Anderson, Indiana, living with relatives about 35 miles northeast of Indianapolis. One of the boys, in a statement to the detectives, recalled hearing 3 loud claps during the night, which he initially did not understand. When he later asked his mother about the noise, she claimed it was the sound of a cabinet falling over. The boy did not believe her, suspecting it had been something more sinister. He said that the next morning, Maria took them to Indiana, and they never saw their father again. Maria's brother-in-law, Simon's brother, was the first to suspect her involvement in the crime. He knew of her history of violence towards Simon and began connecting the dots. His suspicions grew stronger, particularly after Maria's evasive behavior following Simon's disappearance. The investigation continued for years, but Maria was nowhere to be found. Although she was indicted for the crime in 2013, she had fled, and authorities struggled to track her down. It was not until May 2020, when Maria attempted to cross the border from Mexico to San Diego, that she was finally apprehended. Maria Leonor Montalvo was arrested on May 19, 2020, more than 7 years after Simon's tragic demise. At the time of her arrest, Maria was 48 years old, and authorities immediately booked her into the Dallas County Jail, charging her with the crime. Her bail was set at $500,000. Maria had evaded justice for nearly a decade, but her capture brought a sense of relief to Simon's family, who had never stopped seeking justice. Maria's arrest was met with mixed emotions. While it brought a sense of closure to Simon's family, who had fought for years to ensure justice, it also highlighted the devastating impact of her actions on their 2 sons. The children had already been traumatized by the loss of their father, and their relationship with their mother was irreparably altered by the fact that she had taken the life of their father and then fled the country. The Montalvo family rallied around the children, taking on the responsibility of raising them after the tragedy. The case is a heartbreaking example of the devastating effects of domestic violence, not only on the victims but also on the children who are often caught in the crossfire. For Maria, her arrest marked the start of a long-awaited legal process, but the damage to her family had already been done. During her sentencing on February 4, 2023, the judge condemned her actions, calling them absolutely selfish and highlighting the pain she caused her children. Maria was sentenced to 25 years in prison. However, for Simon's family, true justice will come in the form of healing their lives, something that can never truly be restored after such a tragedy.
Moving on to the next mystery. Brian, a second-year medical student at Ohio State University, had previously completed his undergraduate studies in microbiology at Ohio University. He continued his academic journey there before moving on to Ohio State. Throughout his life, Brian had a strong, stable relationship with both his parents and his longtime partner. Although his mother had passed away from cancer just a few months before Brian disappeared, his friends believed that her death had no connection to his sudden vanishing. Furthermore, Brian had planned to propose to his girlfriend later that year, likely during a spring break trip they had planned to Miami. On March 31, 2006, he and his father had gathered to celebrate the upcoming vacation. His father later recalled that Brian seemed exhausted from pulling an all-nighter earlier in the week. This was around 9 p.m. when they spent time together. On the same evening, Brian went to the Ugly Tuna Saluna, which is a seafood restaurant and bar located in the South Campus Gateway complex. There, he met his friend William Florence. That evening, Brian and William went out and visited a number of different drinking facilities, also known as bar hopping. Around midnight, they came face to face with Meredith Reed, who was a friend of William's. As they made their way back to the Ugly Tuna Saloon, where they had begun the evening, she provided them with a ride. It was during their time there that Brian became separated from his friends. Both Meredith and William made numerous attempts to locate him by phoning him on the phone. They exited the bar at approximately 2 in the morning and waited outside for Brian. They presumed that Brian had returned to his apartment because he was not present among the group of people who were leaving. And yet, he was never seen or heard from again. The fact that the Ugly Tuna Saloon is a bar located on the second floor and has a surveillance camera facing the only entrance and exit is a peculiar aspect of this establishment. The police conducted an investigation into the footage and found a moment where Brian and his 2 companions entered the bar. The video also showed Brian saying goodbye to 2 women as they left, and then re-entering the bar just moments later. After that, however, there is no further footage of Brian. He seemingly disappears without a trace, as there is no evidence of him leaving the bar. The fact that the security camera monitoring the only entrance and exit did not capture Brian leaving the bar remains a baffling mystery for investigators. Moving on to the next mystery. In May 1996, Julie Williams, 24, and Laura Winans, 26, set off on a camping trip along the Appalachian Trail in Shenandoah National Park, Virginia. The couple, who had met almost 2 years earlier through Woodswoman, a nonprofit focused on adventure travel for women, shared a deep passion for the outdoors. Accompanied by Laura's golden retriever, Taj, they began their trip on May 19, 1996, excited to immerse themselves in nature. Unfortunately, their journey would end in a tragic, unsolved double homicide that left their families and authorities desperate for answers. The couple never returned home, and on May 31, 1996, nearly 2 weeks later, Julie's father, Thomas Williams, reported her missing after neither family had heard from them. Park rangers immediately launched a search and soon found Julie and Laura's car just north of Skyland Lodge. During the search, they discovered Laura's golden retriever, Taj, wandering alone but seemingly unharmed. The following day, rangers stumbled upon a campsite where they tragically found the bodies of Julie and Laura. Laura was found in her tent, gagged with her hands bound with duct tape. Her legs were tied with a pair of thermal underwear. Although partially undressed, there were no outward signs of sexual assault. Subsequent forensic analysis showed that the duct-taped gag had previously been used to bind Julie's hands. Julie was found 75 feet from their tent in her sleeping bag. She was naked, gagged, and had her hands bound with duct tape. Investigators noted that, unlike Laura, her legs were not tied. While there was no outward evidence of sexual assault, it was suggested that the may 2nd have been tortured, though no specific details were released. Both women died from having their throats slashed with a sharp knife. Determining the time of death was challenging, but the coroner estimated that the deaths occurred between May 26 and May 28, although some indications suggest that the deaths may have happened the night of May 24. The photos left behind in Julie and Laura's camera provide a haunting look at their final days. The women arrived at Shenandoah National Park on May 19, 1996, and set off on the White Oak Canyon Trail, but were forced to return a few days later due to rain. Afterward, they hitchhiked a ride with a park ranger, renewed their camping permit, and ventured out again. They climbed Hawksbill, the highest peak in the park, and camped that night by a scenic stream near the Appalachian Trail. It was in this peaceful setting, shortly after setting up camp, that their lives would be tragically cut short in a brutal and violent manner. Given the women's sexual orientation and the savage, premeditated nature of the murders, authorities began to suspect that they might have been targeted in a hate crime. One possible suspect was David Dorrell Rice, a man with a history of expressing hatred toward women and the LGBT community. Rice, who was later incarcerated, became a person of interest after attempting to abduct a female cyclist in Shenandoah National Park. He was arrested and ultimately served a 10-year sentence for the attempted abduction. Investigators continued to look into possible connections between him and the double homicide, and in April of 2002, Rice was indicted on capital murder charges in the Shenandoah National Park killings. In the statement of facts, authorities claimed that he targeted Julie and Laura out of a hatred for women and for the homosexual community. However, 2 years later, the charges against Rice were dropped once it was determined that DNA and hair samples from the crime scene did not match to Rice. Additional testing revealed that the hair found was visually similar under a microscope to that of known serial killer Richard M. Evenitz. In June of 2002, Evenitz was about to be arrested for an unrelated crime, but he ended up killing himself as police closed in. Forensic evidence eventually linked Evenitz to the unsolved murders of 3 teenage girls, all killed in the mid-90s. As these crimes also occurred in Virginia around the same time that Julie and Laura were murdered, Evenitz was considered a suspect, but nothing else connected him to the crime directly. For the next 25 years, the case remained cold, but in 2021, a new FBI Richmond investigative team was assigned to review the case. The task force re-examined previous leads and interviews, as well as evidence recovered from the site of the killings. The team sent the evidence collected from the crime scene and had it retested by an accredited private lab. A private lab collected DNA from several pieces of evidence, and with the help of Virginia State Police, the DNA profile was sent to the FBI's Combined DNA Index System, CODIS. In June 2024, the DNA was positively matched to Walter Leo Jackson Sr., a convicted serial rapist from Cleveland. Jackson, who worked as a house painter, died in an Ohio prison in March 2018. His criminal history included convictions for kidnapping and assault. At the time of the murders, Jackson, an avid hiker, was believed to have been driving a 1984 chestnut brown MC Eagle 30, and later, a Ford van. At a press conference, the FBI revealed details about the vehicles linked to Jackson and released his photos in hopes of identifying other potential victims. Despite ongoing investigations into other possible crimes, the murders of Julie Williams and Laura Winans are now officially closed after 28 years. While justice has been achieved for these 2 women, the tragic killings continue to serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers that can exist even in the most peaceful environments, and questions about other possible victims remain unanswered. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring these intriguing unsolved mysteries with me. If you found the video fascinating, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Unsolved Mystique for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries. Your support helps me bring you more compelling content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or any mysteries you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.